After 10 long years, we finally got double tap back in zombies, and it's exceeded my expectations. For the last few months, it seems like every zombies run, my guns felt somewhat useless after about 50 rounds. Now, we have a perk that permanently increases weapon effectiveness, but the biggest question is which major and minor augments are best. We'll go through a detailed look at each augment to determine the benefits and drawbacks to help decide which augments you should equip. Let's get into it. To make sure each test is comparable, I chose to use the newly released AMAX to get our baseline numbers. The AMAX does 30 damage to the body and 160 to the head without any rarity upgrades or pack-a-punch. Double tap as a perk without augments simply increases the fire rate, but the description doesn't give us true insight into how much. I tested this without double tap, with double tap, and then with the double time augment to see how much we could increase the fire rate. Without double tap, the AMAX takes 2.76 seconds to fire 30 rounds. Once we equip double tap, this time decreases to 2.16 seconds. That's a 22% decrease, meaning the time to kill is positively affected even without augments. Just from this alone, the TTK is already so much better for bullet weapons. Double tap at its base is already very strong, but as we start to equip augments, you'll see that we can take it from an A tier perk to arguably the most impactful perk in the game. For the 3 major augments, you can choose Double Jeopardy, which creates a chance for normal zombies at low health to die immediately when shot. Double Impact causes double hits quickly on the same zombie to deal more damage, and Double Standard doubles the damage on all non-critical shots for normal bullet weapons. The description for the perks and augments in zombies can sometimes be a bit vague, so we'll need to test each augment to determine how effective they really are in-game. When testing Double Jeopardy, it was difficult to determine exactly when a low health zombie was affected by the augment and when it simply was killed because it was low health. The only use case I could see for this perk really is when an elite zombie is being an absolute bullet sponge and you need to save ammo by it dying prematurely. Also, if you're using wonder weapons or explosive weapons like the GS45, this is the only major augment that can help. Given all of this, I probably wouldn't go with Double Jeopardy in most situations. The other 2 majors do interest me far more as they can be utilized at all times. To test Double Impact, we need to determine how quickly we need to land shots to gain the damage bonus. For automatics like ARs and SMGs, this will proc almost every time an enemy takes multiple shots to kill, as your fire rate is very quick. However, I also tested snipers as well to see if the delay between shots affected the augment's benefits. I used both bolt action and semi-automatic snipers and was able to consistently get the damage bonus. It looks like the delay between shots is still generous enough for you to still receive Double Impact's benefit. Lastly, Double Standard doubles the damage on all shots as long as it's not critical shots. I found this to be helpful when spraying in the lower rounds as it means even missed shots can cause big damage. I would also recommend this for something like a shotgun or akimbos where you might be hip firing a lot and can't always consistently hit those headshots. Even if you have Double Standard equipped, if you do hit a critical shot, it typically kills the zombies anyways or close to it. For your major augment, it really comes down to how often you're hitting headshots and the type of weapon you're using. Because wonder weapons and explosive weapons like the GS45s are excluded from the 2 majors, you have to run Double Jeopardy. Otherwise, I'd recommend utilizing Double Impact over Double Standard as you're likely going to be shooting zombies multiple times as the rounds progress, and the damage benefit will always help. In addition to the major augments, there's 3 minor augments you can choose from. Double Time, which increases the overall fire rate, Double or Nothing, which gives your weapons a chance to do double damage but also a chance to do 0, and Double Play, which gives your weapons a chance to return 2 rounds to your magazine if you kill 2 enemies quickly. At first glance, you'd assume Double Time would be the most impactful as it increases your fire rate even more, allowing for a quicker time to kill. When testing it, I saw an 8% increase in fire rate over normal double tap, meaning an overall increase to the base fire rate of 30%. Being able to juice up the fire rate even more is massively impactful and in my opinion the best use of your minor augment for players who want to set it and forget it augment. The one drawback is that you're going to be using a lot of ammo, but as long as you're hitting your shots, it doesn't really matter. 2 questions came to mind when testing Double or Nothing. How often does it double damage versus grant 0 damage? And secondly, can it stack with any other major augments that affect damage? After a few rounds, I found that I was more likely to get the double damage than the 0 damage. It's hard to tell what the chances of either were, but it's noticeable how often I was getting double versus none. Additionally, you can pair this with Double Impact or Double Standard to stack the damage of your weapons. This means each bullet you fire has the chance to grant, in the case of the AMAX, 120 damage versus the base 30, thereby quadrupling the damage output. Obviously, this isn't on every shot, but happens enough to make it an intriguing choice. Double play may not seem that valuable as 2 extra rounds in your weapon is rather insignificant if you're using ARs or SMGs. However, I wanted to test its effectiveness with high damage one-shot weapons like sniper rifles. When using the frost line, I noticed that I occasionally would get bullets to return, but it never felt like I would get a large extension of time between reloads. You're almost better off just having speed cola to reload quickly over spending an augment on the chance to extend a magazine just a bit. I don't think you can go wrong with double time or double or nothing. Double time's increase to fire rate is always helpful, but doesn't necessarily make your bullets any better. Double or nothing will occasionally cause you to fire a single 0 damage bullet, but the trade-off of doubling your damage more often, which can stack with your major, is a much bigger benefit than the 0 damage drawback. Personally, I'd give a slight edge to double or nothing simply because it's more effective on a per bullet basis. Additionally, this is great against bosses and elites as their health causes you to have to expend multiple mags. This will reduce the amount of essence you have to spend on buying more ammo, which is a big plus for those later rounds. Double tap is exactly what we needed to help our weapons feel a bit more viable, especially on those longer runs. If you don't want to have to think about all the different situations you may be in, then I'd go with double impact and double time. They both work so well together and you'll be getting the benefit every round. I find myself aiming for headshots pretty regularly, so I prefer to get the bonus damage on headshots from double impact. Also, if I do hit multiple body shots, I'll get a damage bonus anyways, reducing how beneficial double standard is. For something like shotguns that have spread or dual wielding, which I don't do much of honestly, then I'd go with double standard, but I doubt I'll be doing that much. Double time is a great benefit across the board as it's always active. For weapons with slightly slower fire rates, it makes them that much more lethal. Don't waste your time with double play as the use case is super niche, and even then all it does is delay the time between reloads, and a couple thousand essence for speed cola negates this entirely. Double or nothing can technically increase your per shot damage and is a more effective use of each bullet. I'll likely be using a combination of double time and double or nothing. Again, you can't go wrong with either. After all these tests, I'm willing to say that double tap should be one of the first perks you buy, especially if you're not going to be using explosive or wonder weapons. Try these combos out and let me know what you think.